There are people who move through the world as if wrapped in invisible static, always listening, always feeling, always noticing. They catch what others miss. The tremor in a friend's laugh, the flicker of doubt behind a confident word, the half-second of silence that hangs heavier than it should. Their minds are tuned like finely strung instruments, resonating with the faintest vibration in the air. For them, awareness isn't just sight. It's a full-body experience, a quiet flood of impressions, sensations, meanings. Every moment holds a subtext. Every face tells a story. Even silence has weight. Life, to the overly aware, is not a single thread but 1,000 each, shimmering with hidden detail. At first, this feels like a gift. To see so deeply, to understand without needing explanation, to walk into a room and sense the mood before a word is spoken, to feel connected as if your intuition reaches places logic cannot. But with time, the gift grows heavy, because when you see too much, you can no longer unsee. Awareness becomes an echo chamber of meanings. A smile isn't just a smile, it's reassurance, defense, or disguise. A word isn't just a word, it's a confession wrapped in tone. A silence isn't empty, it's charged with everything left unsaid. It's not paranoia, it's perception without rest. And it's exhausting. Imagine walking through life under bright fluorescent light, every crack in the wall visible, every flaw in the mirror undeniable. Most people live in the comfort of dimness. They see only what they need to. But the hyper-aware live, where there are no shadows, everything is visible, all the time, including themselves. Psychologically, this constant analysis creates what some call perceptual fatigue. The brain, wired to seek meaning, never pauses. Even joy becomes data. A moment of laughter is dissected. Am I truly happy? Is this real? How long will it last? The result is a strange duality being, both participant and observer in your own life. You feel things deeply, but also watch yourself feel them. You live inside moments, but never fully surrender to them. You are always slightly outside yourself, watching, measuring, understanding. This self-observation often brings wisdom, empathy, clarity, but it also creates distance, a quiet barrier between you and the simplicity of being. Because when your mind turns every experience into a mirror, reflection replaces immersion. You perfect the dance, but forget the music. There's beauty in this way of being, yes. The overly aware see life in breathtaking resolution. They notice the poetry of small things, the way light bends across someone's cheek, the hesitation in a goodbye, the comfort of patterns others never perceive. But beauty, seen too closely, can ache. The same sensitivity that reveals wonder also magnifies pain. And so awareness, once a companion, becomes a weight. You learn to smile even when your mind is tired from thinking. You listen deeply while craving silence. You understand everyone except yourself. The world sees your awareness as grace. They call you intuitive, emotionally intelligent, insightful. But they don't see the cost, the sleepless mind that won't stop scanning for meaning, the constant empathy that leaves no room for rest, the quiet longing to not know so much all the time. Because awareness, for all its brilliance, can become a kind of loneliness. Yet beneath that fatigue, there is something sacred. To be this aware is to hold the fragile thread of humanity in your hands, to see the small truths that most rush past. It's not a curse. It's a kind of soul vision, a light that, when held gently, reveals the hidden tenderness of existence. That's where our story begins, in the delicate space between clarity and exhaustion, between seeing the world as it is and longing to rest from it. No one is born hyper-aware. They learn it quietly, instinctively, long before they know what the word means. It begins in childhood, where emotions are weather and the home is climate. In some homes, storms are unpredictable. A sudden shift in tone, a slammed door, a silence that means more than shouting ever could. Children, in their unguarded wisdom, learn to read the sky. They watch for changes in the air, for the faintest signs of lightning before it strikes. That's where awareness is born, not as curiosity, but as protection. The child learns that safety lives in noticing, in seeing before it happens, in knowing without asking. And so they watch. They listen to footsteps, the pause before a sentence, the sigh behind a smile. They develop a sixth sense, the ability to map emotion in real time, to interpret the meaning of every sound, every glance. What began as vigilance becomes perception. What began as being self-defense becomes identity. Hyper-awareness, at its root, is love trying to survive uncertainty. A child who feels everything grows into an adult who can't stop feeling. They carry the habit forward into classrooms, friendships, relationships. They learn to anticipate moods, to soothe tension before it surfaces. People begin to call them empathetic, mature for their age, a good listener. And they are. But beneath those compliments lies fatigue, the unspoken truth that they are always on. It's not a conscious choice. The brain simply learned to scan for danger, then never stopped. What once kept them safe now keeps them anxious. Their nervous system, trained for subtlety, detects even imaginary storms. And yet, here's the paradox. This hyper-attunement often coexists with deep emotional intelligence. Those who once walked on emotional eggshells become extraordinary observers of human nature. They sense nuance, tone, contradiction. They can read what people don't say, the unspoken pain behind composure, the insecurity behind pride. But the body remembers. Every act of observation carries the residue of fear. The heartbeat quickens at raised voices. The shoulders tense when someone withdraws affection. Even as adults, their intuition is less about curiosity and more about control. The illusion that if they understand everything, they can prevent hurt. In psychology, this is often tied to hypervigilance, the heightened state of sensory sensitivity, often linked to early emotional instability. But there's another layer, gentler and more human, empathic adaptation. When a child grows up with unpredictable care, their empathy becomes a radar tuned to every emotional frequency in the room. They grow up believing awareness equals love, that to love someone means to never miss a change in their tone, that to be safe means to always be prepared. And so even in peace, they anticipate danger. Even in affection, they prepare for withdrawal. Even in silence, they listen for what isn't there. There's a bittersweet beauty in this. These are the people who notice when others fall quiet, who offer comfort without needing explanation, who can sit in someone's pain without fear. Their sensitivity gives the world texture, makes it more human, more tender. But beneath that tenderness lies a hidden exhaustion, the constant monitoring of invisible signals. The child who once survived by reading the room never learned how to leave the room. Even when the danger is gone, their mind stays alert, scanning the horizon of every relationship for change. It's not mistrust, it's memory, a reflex of love that grew too sharp. And so, hyper-awareness is both scar and superpower, a relic of the past that shapes the present. It's empathy with a nervous system attached. Those who carry it often ask themselves, why can't I just relax? The truth is because awareness was never meant to be optional. It was their first language, their oldest form of love. But what begins as protection can, in time, evolve. The next step in the story is not to unlearn awareness, but to understand what it's made of, scientifically and emotionally. because beneath its poetry lies biology, the wiring of a brain that feels too much and thinks even more. To understand what it means to be too aware, we have to step gently inside the mind itself to see how it builds its quiet storm of thought, sensation, and meaning. Because awareness isn't only an emotional trait, it's a neurological pattern. The brain of a highly perceptive person behaves like a constantly active radar. It doesn't rest between signals, it scans, interprets, predicts. The prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for metacognition and self-reflection, hums like an engine that never idles. It's always asking, what does this mean? What comes next? To be aware is to live in a perpetual feedback loop between sensing and thinking. And when that loop speeds up, perception becomes over-perception. From a psychological perspective, several mechanisms are at play. 1. Metacognition, the mind observing itself. This is the ability to think about thinking, to step back from an experience and examine it as it happens. It's what allows someone to notice their own emotion, to question it, to understand it. But when metacognition is overactive, awareness turns into self-surveillance. Interoception, sensing the body's internal signals. The hyper-aware often have heightened interoceptive sensitivity. They notice every heartbeat, every shift in breathing, every knot in the stomach. The body becomes another canvas for information, but it can also become an amplifier for anxiety. The ability to imagine what others are thinking or feeling. This is the gift that makes the aware so attuned to others' needs. But empathy has an unseen cost. It activates the same neural pathways that process one's own pain. Feeling with others can literally feel like pain. 4. Predictive processing, the brain's attempt to stay ahead. Every moment, the mind tries to predict what will happen next based on patterns it already knows. For those who are hyper-aware, this predictive model becomes hyperactive. They anticipate not just events, but emotions. They run constant simulations of what might go wrong, not because they want to, but because their brain believes prediction equals protection. These systems together create what neuroscientists call enhanced salience. It means that everything, every sound, every glance, every pause feels significant. The brain tags each stimulus as important, even when it isn't. Over time, this leads to cognitive overload, the mental equivalent of having every browser tab open, every notification on, every detail demanding attention. It's not imagination, it's physiology. An overactive anterior cingulate cortex, responsible for emotional regulation, and insula, the hub of self-awareness, can keep a person in constant analytical motion. The nervous system, flooded with data, forgets how to rest. That's why stillness feels foreign to the overly aware. Silence doesn't soothe, it magnifies the inner hum. The absence of noise becomes its own kind of noise, and yet the same wiring that causes exhaustion also enables brilliance. Studies on high emotional sensitivity show increased creativity, empathy, and pattern recognition. The mind that overanalyzes is also the mind that connects disparate ideas, sees hidden systems, and reads emotional nuance with astonishing accuracy. Awareness, at its purest, is intelligence tuned to feeling. It's the meeting place of intuition and logic, a bridge between the heart and the analytical mind. But when that bridge is flooded with traffic, something changes. The person becomes trapped in reflection, unable to cross fully into experience. They can describe their emotions with precision, but rarely inhabit them. This is the hidden paradox of consciousness. The more we try to understand ourselves, the less we sometimes feel ourselves. The more data the mind gathers, the less quiet the soul becomes. For those who live in overperception, the challenge isn't to shut off awareness, that's impossible, but to learn discernment, to teach the brain that not every signal is an emergency, not every silence holds meaning, not every glance demands interpretation. Because underneath the science lies a quiet truth. Awareness is not the enemy of peace. Attachment to meaning is. When awareness becomes gentler, perception softens, and what once felt like vigilance begins to feel like wisdom. That wisdom, that slow turning point, is where the next chapter begins. There comes a moment when awareness stops being a mirror and starts becoming a maze. You can see everything, yet can't find the way out. The conflict inside the hyper-aware mind isn't between good and bad thoughts, but between feeling and understanding. You feel deeply, but your mind refuses to let feelings simply exist. It dissects them, turns them into data. As soon as emotion arrives, analysis follows. You cry, then ask why. You love, then wonder how long it will last. You feel peace, then fear it might not return. Awareness, at this stage, becomes both comfort and captivity. You can explain your pain with precision, but that explanation never heals it. You can predict others' emotions, but rarely trust your own. You know too much to be naive, yet too sensitive to be detached. This is the strange middle ground where empathy and exhaustion coexist. You understand people's intentions, even when they hurt you. You forgive them before they apologize, because you've already mapped their reasons. You read between every line, but in doing so, you stop reading the line itself. For the overly aware, peace can feel like negligence. To not think feels like danger, so you keep scanning, questioning, interpreting, even in love, even in safety. The mind splits itself in two, one part living, the other observing. You watch yourself speak, feel, react as though life is happening at a slight distance. This self-splitting offers control but costs authenticity, because you can't surrender and supervise at the same time. There's also guilt woven into this. The guilt of knowing too much, of sensing what others can't, of feeling responsible for it. You carry moods that aren't yours, wounds you didn't cause. You call it empathy, but sometimes it's just overextension trying to manage emotions that were never yours to hold. Psychologically, this is the collision of metacognition and attachment. The brain's need to understand meets the heart's need to feel safe. When understanding replaces experience, emotion becomes theory. You describe what you can't fully inhabit, and yet, awareness longs for stillness, for the chance to stop translating and start being. This conflict doesn't mean you're broken. It means your mind has outgrown its old defenses, but hasn't yet learned how to rest inside them. Because even awareness, for all its precision, eventually yearns for one simple thing: to stop observing life and start feeling alive again. Awareness carries a quiet price tag. It doesn't demand payment in moments of insight or wisdom. It takes its toll in silence, in exhaustion, in the invisible ache that follows understanding. To see too much is to feel too much, and to feel too much for too long is to live with a kind of gentle fatigue that never quite fades. It's the weariness of noticing, of being unable to turn off the whole lens that magnifies every flicker of emotion, every unspoken shift in the air. The emotionally aware live in a world of subtle storms. A small hesitation in someone's voice can linger in their mind for days. A change in tone can unravel hours of peace. They absorb tension like sponges, carrying moods that don't belong to them. The irony is that others often call them strong because they seem composed, calm in chaos, graceful under strain. But inside, they're constantly balancing empathy with depletion. It's not dramatics, it's data overload. Every interaction becomes an emotional equation. Every smile, every silence, every glance. And when you spend your days decoding the world, you start to lose energy for simply living in it. That's the emotional cost, the quiet burnout of the perceptive heart. It shows up as a kind of soft detachment. You start declining invitations, not out of bitterness, but out of protection. People, but because your system needs rest from feeling them. You learn to ration your empathy like oxygen, offering it only to those who won't waste it. But the most painful cost of awareness is how it isolates you. When you understand people too deeply, it becomes harder to be surprised, to be naive, to be effortlessly happy. Joy turns analytical. Love turns cautious. Peace feels temporary. You see the cracks in everything, even beauty, especially beauty. And yet, despite the exhaustion, the aware rarely wish to unsee. Because for all the pain it brings, awareness also gives depth. It makes love more conscious, grief more sacred, and life more meaningful. The cost is heavy, yes, but it buys a kind of wisdom that cannot be faked. Still, even wisdom needs rest. Even understanding needs softness. Because awareness, without gentleness, becomes self-erasure. The truly wise eventually learn that you don't need to feel everything to feel deeply. Sometimes, the greatest act of awareness is knowing when to put the lens down and simply breathe.